What's up, guys? It's me, it's the Elite Double X Prince, and I'm gonna do something different on this channel. I'm gonna give you some top 10 lists. I'm gonna do one from top 10 wrestlers, top 10 matches, top 10 movies, maybe top 10 songs. I'm still debating on that one. I'm gonna give you a couple of some top 10 lists for this channel because I think I'm kind of bored at this point, and I want to do something with the channel. So I decided to do my 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. Now on my website, if you guys have noticed, I do have a series on my website called Countdown, and then it's like countdown of movies, matches, and stuff like that. You can check it out, the link down below. And one of them happens to be my favorite wrestlers of all time. Now I'm trying to make it to 100, but it's kind of hard to think about it, so I put like 60, maybe 65 dudes in that category. But here are my 10 favorite male wrestlers of all time. I want to do a women's wrestlers individually, but I will get that. So, anyways, here are my 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. And now I will have some honorable mentions. I'm gonna give you 10 honorable mentions. Sting, Sting had a great career in WCW. Forgive his TNA career or his WWE career. His WCW career fucking just made it worth it for him. So there's that. Samoa Joe, one of my favorites in the Indies. Jeff Hardy, I grew up watching this guy, so obviously he would be. Sadly, couldn't make to the list. Bryan Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan, couldn't quite make it. Mick Foley, the hardcore legend. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I was so damn close with that guy. AJ Styles, easily the best talent we got today. Macho Man Randy Savage, ooh yeah. Brock Lesnar, not quite yet. And the one guy that just missed it for me, I was about to put him on the top 10, but I just couldn't do it. And that guy is Eddie Guerrero. I'm sorry, Eddie. Rest in peace. But, man, it was so close. It was between him and my number 10. And coming in at number 10, I have the Rated R Superstar Edge. The reason why he just slightly beats Eddie Guerrero is because Edge just surprised me with his career. He went from a tag team to a mid-carder to a main eventer. It's just pretty crazy. You would never imagine in years that this guy would be at the top, and he is. You could say the same about Eddie, but I don't know. The way Edge just kind of carried himself, and he had one of the coolest storylines and one of the sickest, weirdest storylines out there. That being with Lita, Matt Hardy, and Edge, the love triangle. Basically taking a real life story, making it true. He was the first ever Money in a Bank winner, making him the ultimate opportunist. He brought his own belt, the Rated R Championship. He had a shitty last match, but I mean, can you really blame him? Look who he was taking on, Alberto Del fucking Rio. But during the small time that he was there, he was just killing it in the ring, and he was just having a good matches. If I could pick one of my favorite matches that he's ever had on his own, would probably have to be his match with The Undertaker at SummerSlam 2008, the Hell in a Cell match. Great match, and good job, Edge, to make it in my top 10 list. What a great character. Coming in at number 9, I have the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret Hart, even though I didn't grow up watching him, it was just cool seeing his story. Despite his WCW career and how his career happened to end, it was pretty sad that Bret Hart didn't have a great WCW run, but his WWF run was just pretty great too. I mean, again, you want to talk about a guy who started from a tag team to the main event, and shit. We had stuff like with the Hart Foundation. He had great matches with every tag team, and then he eventually kind of did stuff on his own. He became the top guy after having that great WrestleMania of his life at WrestleMania 10 with 2 matches, one with Owen, which was a classic, and Yokozuna, which even though the match was not that great, the moment was still there. he was just really over. And the saddest part is that it didn't last that long because Shawn Michaels eventually took over. And I'll get to all his controversy maybe in some other video. But it's just kind of sad how this guy ended his career, and it just pretty bums me out. And looking at Bret Hart today, it's pretty shitty what he's doing, just talking shit on the internet. He was talking shit about Seth Rollins. He still has the grudge against Shawn Michaels, which I understand that. But yeah, just despite that, I can't deny that Bret Hart is one of easily the best there is, the best there was, best there ever will be. He deserved that name, and he just did a fantastic job. One of my favorite matches will probably have to be the one with Bret Hart and Stone Cold at Mania 13. One of my favorite matches of all time. And even though it's more of a Stone Cold Steve Austin match, it takes two to tango, and Bret Hart just made that great. And he has also had great matches with some of his family members. Owen Hart, the British Bulldog. He had great matches with Shawn Michaels. I will never deny that. He had great matches with The Undertaker. And can you imagine if he was still around, in his prime, the great matches he could have had with characters such as Kurt Angle. He had a very underrated match with Chris Benoit. I remember that match in WCW. Easily the best thing of Bret Hart's career in WCW. And speaking of WCW, let's talk about Mr. WCW. Woo! The Nature Boy Ric Flair. Originally the 22-time world champion. They only count 16 of those for some reason. Even though it's 22. I'm not going to say all of them, but Ric Flair is the guy. He had charisma. He had good promos. He got great matches. He had phenomenal matches. Hell, and he was old as fuck in his last match in WWE, not TNA. Fuck TNA. I erased all of that stuff that he did in TNA because it's just worthless. But his last match in WWE with Shawn Michaels at Mania 24, holy shit. He still went for it, and he still had a great match with him. He may have not had the best record in WrestleMania history, honestly, because he had two great matches in WrestleMania history, which were Macho Man and Shawn Michaels, like I said. But I don't know. Still looking back at his career, he could do no wrongs. He could still have great matches. Hell, he had a brutal, hard-hitting steel cage match with The Game, Triple H. And it was just fucking crazy how this guy just bled. And he had great matches with almost anybody, even during his small WWE career with Shelton Benjamin, Carlito. He had small little good matches. Hell, he had a great TLC match with Edge. Shit. You want to talk about Ric Flair just taking bumps at old age? Holy shit, was this guy just taking bumps back and forth. Holy crap. And yeah, Ric Flair, he could be. I didn't think he would be a great hardcore wrestler, but damn, he could also have some classics with the likes of Terry Funk, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Macho Man, Rick Rude. He has had a good resume of great matches. And hell, he won the first ever Royal Rumble match for the WWF Championship, and it's my favorite Royal Rumble match of all time. Woof. Or should I say, from the bottom of my eye, or something like that. This is the greatest moment of my life. Woo! Great job, Now, this next guy, I might get controversy just for putting him in my top 10 and putting him over a Ric Flair or a Bret the Hitman Hart. But coming in at number 7 is a guy who really we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his epic pipe bomb. And that, of course, being CM Punk. CM Punk, despite his UFC piece of shit match with Mickey Gall, holy shit, did CM Punk bring goodness to wrestling. He had a fantastic run in ROH, and Paul Heyman saw something in this guy, and WWE didn't see that in him, but he kind of had to ask it for himself by dropping that pipe bomb and have that incredible match with CM Punk versus CM Punk. That makes no sense, but CM Punk versus John Cena. That's one of the best matches I've ever seen in the modern era. It just shows that CM Punk wanted to be the best and prove that he was the best. You know, he is in fact what he calls himself, the best in the world. Hell, 2012 was his year, despite not main eventing most of the shows. I mean, he had great matches that year. I still remember his matches with Daniel Bryan, John Cena, Chris Jericho, Alberto Del Rio, Dolph Ziggler. Who else did he fight? He fought many greats in his 2012 one. But even in ROH, he had some great matches in the Indies with Bryan Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan. Samoa Joe, I can never forget that Joe versus Punk 2. That story that he couldn't beat Samoa Joe was epic. It was really good. Hell, he had a very underrated match with Terry Funk. Also, his match with Austin Aries at Death Before Dishonor 3 was incredible. One of the best matches and the most underrated match I've seen in CM Punk's career. Not a lot of people talk about that match, and you should go back and watch it because it's really fucking good. And yeah, CM Punk, I wish he comes back, and hopefully he comes back in good terms because, you know, it's really bad with him right now. And I just hope that, you know, CM Punk brings goodness to come back, and just, you know, just hope that Punk comes back in good terms. If he doesn't want to come back, I understand. Now, coming in at number 6, I am so shocked that this guy is not in my top 5, especially since he's from my hometown of San Diego, California. Coming in at number 6 is Rey Mysterio Jr. Holy shit. How is this guy not in my top 5? He has had great performances. It's just been amazing. Hell, he's in Lucha Underground and he's still got it. I'm still excited to see where he comes when he comes back to Lucha Underground and go after Matanza Cuero. But he has already had a great resume in WCW, being one of the best mid-carders of all time, having incredible matches with Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Ultimo Dragon, Jushin Thunder Liger, Psychosis. The list goes on and on and on with Rey Mysterio. And then you expect a WCW guy not to succeed in WWE. He came back in WWE, but hell, he had a great run. I mean, yes, I know that he got the World Championship because Eddie died, but you can't deny the fact that was a great moment for him as well. Plus, he's been one of my favorite Intercontinental Champions of all time. I mean, he had great matches in 2009 with Jericho and Dolph Ziggler. I mean, those matches are gold. Hell, his matches with Punk ain't that bad either. But I don't know, Rey Mysterio being my hometown hero is just a given to me. You know, Rey Mysterio, without Rey Mysterio, I probably wouldn't even realize what wrestling is, because one of my earliest one of the first wrestlers I ever got to be introduced to was Rey Mysterio, and it's just pretty shocking that, you know, Rey Mysterio's just been having a great career, and it's just great to see that he's done it. And I'm shocked that he's not in my top 5. But who did make my top 5? Coming in at number 5, I got the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. Wow, you want to talk about a guy with charisma, personality, in-ring skills? He had it all. Kurt Angle, probably the best submission wrestler, except maybe like one guy that's in this list you can count as a submission wrestler. But Kurt Angle also had a pretty solid run in TNA. You know, TNA tends to fuck up ex-WWE guys, but Kurt Angle is one of the few guys that they didn't fuck up. Despite like his later run, he still had great matches, and he could still have great matches now that he's the Raw GM. Possibly he might take on The Miz, from what I'm hearing. I'm still excited because it's a Kurt Angle match. I mean, I still want to see him take on the likes of I still wanted to see Daniel Bryan versus Kurt Angle. Can you imagine at WrestleMania 34, Kurt Angle, Daniel Bryan, loser becomes double GM or something like that? I will fucking watch that match. I mean, like that, I will fucking run to WrestleMania to go watch it. But Kurt Angle, he'll make your ankle hurt. You know, he had some, even though he was awesome in the ring, he also had that humor. You know, I still remember that part when he put on that one hat and he's just like, how do I look? And, you know, he looked goofy, but it was funny. You know, Kurt Angle had some funny-ass moments. And, yeah, thank you, Kurt, for being in my top 5. He's number 5. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. Coming in at number 4, you guys knew he was going to be in this list. I'm actually shocked he is this low. He's not in my top 3, but Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Texas Rattlesnake. Austin 316 said he just whooped your ass. Drunken beer. Hell, he had one of the best, easily the name and face of the Attitude Era, by far. Stone Cold Steve Austin is the name and face of the Attitude Era. Stone Cold said he just whooped your ass. I mean, I like this guy's promos a lot more than his matches, and his matches are incredible. He had one of my favorite matches in WrestleMania history being with Bret the Hitman Hart. I mean, even though he lost, that was a great moment for him. Hell, he's had a great trilogy with The Rock at WrestleMania, and he had easily the best storyline in WWE/WWF history with Vince McMahon. That storyline was awesome, and hell, that match at St. Valentine's Day Massacre was really good, despite Big Show interference. But Stone Cold Steve Austin can do you no wrong. He's just a lot of fun, and he originally was planning to come back to have one more match, but he didn't want to be that PG guy. But hell, I'm glad the way he retired with him losing to The Rock. The Rock finally beating Stone Cold. I think that was a great moment for Stone Cold. I wish I'm pretty sure if he wasn't injured, he would have been there since 2006 at least. But, good things come to an end, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, with a broken neck, he became something great. He went from stunning Steve Austin in WCW, which was meh, to Ringmaster, which is garbage, to the Texas Rattlesnake, Austin 316. Stone Cold Steve Austin makes it in my top 5. Number 4. Now, number 3 is possibly one of my idols growing up. I hated this guy growing up, but he did a good job at making me hate him. And that is Chris Jericho. You want to talk about a guy who could make you hate him. Chris Jericho was just the guy. I mean, whenever he knew he was boring or he was stale, he changed up his gimmick, and that was brilliant of his. I mean, yeah, he came back in 2016 and was part of this fight with AJ Styles, but where was that going to go to next? He ended up changing up his character a little bit. We got You Just Made the List. I still remember that segment with the 1001 holds and then Dean Malenko comes to interfere. That was a great moment. I know he's not a big fan of his WCW run, but I personally love it. In WWF, he became a star, though. He was the only guy to beat Stone Cold and The Rock on the same night. That's mind-blowing to hear. I mean, granted, I know Booker T interfered, but he became the first ever undisputed WWF champion. Granted, he lost to Triple H, but come on, it's Chris freaking Jericho. I mean, one day he's going to retire, and when he does, it's going to be a really sad moment. And, despite, that he might be too old, he still got it. He had a great match with Kevin Owens at Mania. He still had some good matches with Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm talking about house show matches that I've seen on the internet. Hell, he had a great match, a very underrated match with Neville at Beast in the East. Anybody remember that match? That was a great match. But yeah, Chris Jericho could bring many characters and still be as entertaining as possible. Hell, if he is planning on retiring, I want him to be GM. I think he would make a great general manager. Plus, I forgot to mention, I love Fozzy. Fozzy's one of my favorite bands out there right now. I mean, he had, if I had to pick my favorite song, it would probably be Enemy, which I know it's an obvious choice, but I would probably have to also say, what other ones has he done? Watch Me Shine. I'm not a big fan of Lights Go Out, but I know a lot of people like it, and it's meh. Damn, I forgot the name of that song, but it's like, I think it was Chain. Where is this chain? I've been searching for all of these things. Yeah, if you guys know which one it is, you should know. Coming in at number 2, possibly the greatest in-ring performer of all time, Shawn Michaels. Mr. WrestleMania. Now, despite his controversy in 1997 and him leaving in 1998, Shawn Michaels still had a pretty solid, pretty great resume of matches. I mean, all of his, like I said, Mr. WrestleMania, he has had great matches with everybody. Everybody. Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Edge, John Cena, of all people, Randy Orton, Triple H. He had a very underrated match with Shelton Benjamin, which I still watch to this day. But how can I forget his 2 classic matches with The Undertaker at WrestleMania back-to-back? Those were just classics. He was in the first ever Hell in a Cell. Shawn Michaels, despite, not being possibly the nicest guy in the world, he is the best in-ring performer of all time. Not quite the best character, because he's my number 2. Number 1 is somebody else that you guys might guess who it is already. But Shawn Michaels is a legend, and as much as I want to see him come back, it's just great that he just the way he retired. Having my favorite match of all time. Again, I can't stop talking about that moment of his last moment in the ring. That was just a classic match. My favorite match of all time. And it's just crazy that Shawn Michaels has just done so much for the business. But number 1 was the winner of the guy who put over Shawn Michaels, or put down Shawn Michaels. But that is, of course, The Undertaker. Undertaker is my favorite wrestler of all time. It's probably too obvious at this point, but Undertaker has been there a lot. The first guy I saw when it came to WWE. Granted, when I first saw who the fuck this guy was, I knew him as the American Badass, which is kind of sad at this point. But I mean, the Dead Man, the Ministry of Darkness. I mean, despite his early run when he had shitty matches with Giant Gonzalez, Kamala, and shit like that, that wasn't that was the Undertaker character, but he's been that Dead Man for 27 years. That's how long his career's been going for, 27 years, and he retired this year, and it was just a great moment to see Undertaker, it's kind of retire, and he's just done, because at this point he's just getting kind of old and stale, and Undertaker, his last great match I could really remember was with Brock Lesnar at Hell in a Cell. I mean, this guy has just, every time I hear The Undertaker in a match, I'm like, I have to watch it. I have to fucking watch it. It's just a given, and that's why he is my favorite wrestler of all time. He is the top guy of all time. I mean, when people think of wrestling, one of the top guys that will come to your head is The Undertaker, and that is why he is my number 1 wrestler of all time. And that's it. What are your top 10 wrestlers of all time, guys? What do you guys think about this list so far? I'm planning to do more down the road if you guys enjoy this. Anyways, follow me on everything down below. Check out all the cool shit down below. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And it's me, the ALE XX Prince. And until then, I'm out.